Absolutely and emphatically not.
Okay.
Testing is testing. Testing is not learning. And I'll speak from personal experience. My daughter does not perform well on standardized tests. And so to make that the measure of the child, the parent, the teacher, or the school, grossly inadequate in my opinion. And the explosion of standardized testing in this district, in this country, Ken Robinson, Sir Ken Robinson, is a gentleman and a guy who I follow, I like some of the things that he has to say. There's been an interesting parallel in American education. As we've seen this explosion of standardized testing, it's been followed in parallel by an explosion of diagnoses of ADHD. Standardized testing also leads down the path of one correct answer to every problem. But we know if we go up to the business community, and as someone who is a leader in business, I know that I want people who can look at a problem, or look at an object, or look at a situation, and be able to solve it, or propose solutions from multiple different perspectives. It's called divergent thinking. And there was a study done in a book called Breakpoint and Beyond, where 1,500 5-year-olds were tested to determine what percentage were geniuses at divergent thinking. At 5 years old, 98% attained genius level. 5 years later, same kids were tested, less than 50% attained genius level. 5 years after that, 15-year-old kids, less than 15% attained genius level in divergent thinking. Well, if divergent thinking and those kinds of things are what the business community and the real world requires, why are we educating that out of our children in our schools?
So how do you evaluate programs? You say you want to fully fund programs that are successful and not fund programs that aren't.
Sure.
What metrics do you use?
Right.
How do you evaluate what programs are effective?
And that's not to say that I'm completely against standardized testing or that there's no room for standardized testing. But I remember when I grew up that we may have a standardized test at the beginning of the year and one at the end of the year. But all during the course of the year, the teacher was responsible for determining if we mastered subject matter. It was teacher-driven. And the teacher knew if we were on track, if we needed additional help. Why can't we trust our teachers to do that today? It worked 30 years ago. Why can't it work today? And so I think we need to have a balanced approach that says, you know what, there is some importance to standardized testing because it gives us one gauge. However, we also need to be testing kids to see how they do in solving problems that may require multiple different opportunities or possibilities to the solution so that we are fostering the growth of learning and not just the ability to say, problem, one correct answer, move on. So it's a balance of teachers being engaged in knowing their children better than anybody, couple that with some standardized testing. I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable to say students come in at the beginning of the year and we give them a standardized test that doesn't just have one correct answer, but we have some multiple choice and we have some true false and maybe we have some short answer essay kinds of things to get an idea where they are when they start the school year. And then we test them again at the end of the year to find out what kind of growth they made, to be able to identify if there are some serious gaps that we're seeing, but to use that in conjunction with what the teacher does daily in the classroom to get a more fuller picture of what the student really is and where they are, what they need help with, or where their areas of interest are, so we can make sure that we're driving down that path.
So what I'm hearing is you think there standardized testing in a sort of pre and post every year for everybody, like kindergarten through 12.
Sure. I would not have a problem with that. But this whole concept of formatives and summatives and tests for every subject, and in some of the research I did before I decided to run, spoke with many teachers, and by and large, kind of the input and feedback I got was, you know what, we're losing about 4 hours a week of instructional time to testing. When I did that math out, that came out to about 20 days. That's 4 full weeks. of educational time, instructional time that we're losing to all of this standardized testing. I don't think that's really appropriate.